Today we're throwing Frank Castle, the Punisher himself, straight into one of the most terrifying places in all of gaming history. Arkham Asylum. The same madhouse where Batman barely makes it out alive, and we see him basically go through all of these trials and tribulations through this entirety of this game. And I love this game. So, obviously, the question is, could the Punisher survive the events of Batman Arkham Asylum if he was dropped into the chaos instead of the Dark Knight? I thought it'd be a fun idea to see how the Punisher would actively do instead of Batman being in the scenario, if he had to fight through everything that happened in the Batman Arkham Asylum game. Could he survive it? Could he take down the Joker, Croc, Ivy, all of them, or whatever? Or would he basically lose to this madhouse and basically find something that is too much for Frank Castle? Before we start throwing him into Arkham's nightmare, we need to remember who Frank Castle is and what makes him such a terrifying force. Frank Castle is a former Marine, one of the best soldiers in the US military and one of the best that they have ever produced. He is a master marksman, expert in every form of close quarters combat, infiltration, urban warfare, and just an all-out powerhouse in terms of the street level kinds himself. He has taken down entire gangs, armies, supervillains without any backup and lived. There are iterations of the character which obviously I'm not using where he has basically just killed the entire Marvel universe. He's not a metahuman, he's not a god, he's just a man with perfect discipline, years of tactical experience, and a kill count that makes war veterans look like amateurs. He is basically what you take if you get Jason Todd and up him up to an extreme and just take any real Batman-esque morals out of the question. Now, when it comes down to the equipment that he uses, Frank's loadout is basically just a very big arsenal. He usually consists of heavy firearms, assault rifles, shotguns, grenades, body armor, night vision, smoke grenades, and an endless supply of ammo. But for this scenario, obviously, we'll keep it balanced. He gets his standard gear and time to prep before entering Arkham Asylum. No nukes, no calling in military strikes, just the Punisher, his arsenal, and any of his sheer brutality that he wants to inflict in general. But with all that in mind, let's drop him into this madhouse. And if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this, and keeping it updated. Going in the same order that they appeared in the game, we first up start with Victor Zsasz. And honestly, this fight is over in seconds. Victor Zsasz is dangerous for unarmed civilians, sure, but against somebody like Frank Castle, he's a warm-up target. Zsasz relies on his intimidation and close-range knife attacks and all of that other stuff, but the Punisher is trained for that kind of stuff and has fought this for his entire life, honestly. Frank would just shoot him on sight and make sure that really nothing else has to be dealing with. There isn't a second of monologuing that he has to be dealing with, and it's more just making a mark, one bullet, center mass, clean execution. If Batman spared him, Frank sure as hell won't. That's just a give and take. There is no climbing up to the ceiling and just going to the back and just surprise attack and doing anything like that. We're just going to call this a complete day and just get it over with like that. Next up, we have the Titan Henchman. And this guy might be a little harder. He's a lot obviously bigger, and they're just basically roided up monsters thanks to the Joker's Titan formula, massive strength, thick skin, and almost mindless aggression. Normally, obviously, if we're talking about Batman, he took them down with agility and gadgets and patience, but Punisher is not going to be doing that, obviously. He's not the type to be playing the long game unless he absolutely has to. He'll unload on the Titan henchman with armor-piercing rounds and explosives that he will most definitely have. And just get it done before the Titan henchman has the chance and opportunity to just pass out and die on its own via a heart attack, because he's not going to let it get to that point. Frank's been faced with enemies like the Hulk's mutated offsprings, the Russians from Welcome Back, and Frank, all sorts of superhuman enforcers and everything else like that, and he knows how to deal with monsters. Let's be fair. He'll keep his distance, use the environments, gas lines, power conduits, whatever he can find to even the odds. It'd be brutal, but he would win. The Titan freaks and the Titan henchmen and anything else related to that would just drop instantaneously. Now, Scarecrow is where things get a lot more dicey and interesting. Jonathan Crane doesn't fight with his fists, he fights with fear. The toxin, the hallucinations, the psychological warfare, and all of the other things that would be able to mess Frank up in any specific way, all that could mess with somebody who isn't really mentally prepared. But the Punisher, he is quite literally built different. Frank has lived through pure horror. The death of his family, multiple wars, the nightmares that haunt him every single night. Scarecrow's toxin would absolutely affect him, but instead of breaking him, it would most likely make him angrier because he already has to live with these thoughts every single day. Frank's worst fear is reliving that tragedy. And if Crane makes him see that again and again and again and again, Castle will lose it, but in the worst way possible for somebody like Scarecrow. He'd track Crane down, gas mask on, because there is a small, at least somewhat good possibility that he will have a gas mask on him in any specific way. And even if he doesn't, we've seen Batman be able to get over it. I don't see a situation where Frank can't somehow manage to get his way over it also. So I see that him taking down the Scarecrow, specifically in that first encounter, is not going to be a problem, or in almost any encounter in general won't be a very major problem in the end of the day. Up next would be Bane, and to be honest, this would also be a very big challenge, because even Batman himself struggled against him in this fight in the game. Even with the serum and getting involved, there is one big thing. Frank is not afraid to use lethal tactics. If Bane charges him on head on, Punisher wouldn't try to outfight him, outmaneuver him, he'd just outthink him. Castle has the kind of guts, and he is the kind of guy who rigs traps and shoots kneecaps and goes for weak points. He uses explosives, environmental hazards, and even maybe bait Bane into an electric generator or a structural collapse or whatever. He will find a way. If he finds out how the venom works, those tubes on the back of Venom, like those tubes on the back of Bane's back, Frank would just blow them apart. Bane would rage out, but the damage would just stack up very fast and it would get extremely messy. But the Punisher would very well find a way to win just due to pure tactical efficiency and just at least having the good common sense to know how to deal with this kind of thing. He'd probably be limping after, yeah, but Bane would be down and out for the count no matter what, just due to the people that we've kind of seen Punisher deal with in general on his own shows and comics in general. Harley Quinn, if we really want to talk about her, we can, but if we're being honest, this isn't really even a fight. Even with all of the lackeys and goons that she has around her and surrounding her in general, this is not going to be a fight. Harley's unpredictable, yeah, but Frank's seen worse. She's a threat with the backup, but not really by herself, and she has that backup. Punisher would neutralize her goons in seconds, and then Harley would either try to surrender or get taken out extremely fast, because yeah, I honestly see there's a possibility of Frank saving her or whatever, just due to the person that Harley is and all of the backstory, but he probably wouldn't know that, so I see a good possibility of just blowing a cap, calling it a day, and not having to deal with this again. Knowing him, that's probably how it's going to be. She's extremely chaotic, but she is also dangerous and could possibly pose a threat. Not really, but he will just need to get this done with quickly and cleanly. And moving on to somebody like Killer Croc, this one would honestly probably be terrifying if we're specifically talking about it, specifically in the Arkham games in general, just due to the fact that Killer Croc isn't some brute. He is a predator. massive, stealthy, and perfectly at home inside of the dark tunnels beneath Arkham, and specifically inside of the sewers that we're going to be in for his actual battle. For the Punisher, this would be the hardest encounter yet, because this isn't just a fight, it's a hunt, and both of them are hunters. Frank would have to stay quiet using whatever kind of things that he might have on deck. Maybe he has some sonar or motion sensors, maybe even just bait Croc out with sound traps that he could probably whip together fairly quickly, because he is very good at coming up with whatever he needs on the fly. And whether he has incendiary grenades, explosives to keep Croc at bay, him being in the sewers and him being in Croc's personal best environment would be his biggest downfall. There is a good possibility that he finds the weakness and he just honestly either just electrocutes the water with some kind of taser that he probably has on him, or basically tries and figures out a way to deal with Croc, which I see a good possibility of him doing it. Whether it's taking him out, I don't know if the exact possibility on that potentially happening, but this fight would be the more 50-50, more leaning on the Punisher side comparatively to Croc's, but this would be the most irritating match that Punisher would have to deal with in entirety. This would be one hell of a fight, but Punisher would most likely survive, just barely. And then when it comes to somebody like Poison Ivy, this would be interesting to say the least, because she's not somebody that Frank would be ready for at first. The ability to control plants, manipulate the environment, use toxins, and everything else that she has the ability to do, specifically in this way where she's just controlling this big giant plant and has so many things going around, it is not something that you train for in the Marines. But remember, Punisher's not dumb. Once he figures out how she operates, he'd start burning through the foliage using fire and chemicals to control her and control at least the battlefield that he can. He'd realize that she's strongest when she's staying stationary and connected to her traps and vines, and once he spots that weakness, it's over. It's not going to take too long. A few well-placed incendiary grenades, and Ivy's entire network of plants goes up in flames. And remember, she's powerful, not bulletproof. And to be fair, Ivy is probably one of my favorite Batman characters in general, just due to the fact that I don't consider her a villain. She's an eco-terrorist, yes, guaranteed, but a villain, not really, just due to the fact that she's fighting for something specific. And now we can talk about the main event. The big one, Titan Joker. Now this would be the most chaotic boss in the entirety of this kind of scenario, just due to the fact that Joker is already unpredictable as is, but with the Titan Serum, he just becomes a monster. But the thing is, Punisher has dealt with lunatics and monsters before, and he has gone at least up against the Hulk or extremely strong beings before in his own world, and his entire existence is about putting pain and putting people down that are psychopaths like the Joker, just putting pain on people like that. So Titan Joker would probably overpower him in just terms of brute strength, but Castle's precision and planning gives him the edge and everything like that. It would kind of be pseudo-similar to something like Batman. He'd probably lure him into a trap, explosives, fire, something to destabilize the platform. Once Joker's distracted, Frank would definitely start going for the kill and just probably end it with either with a hell shot, like with a headshot, or a well-timed detonation. Batman spared him using the actual, like, just incendiary kind of gloves, like putting some explosives on his own gloves and just kind of knocking him out. That kind of same similar thing would work in terms of the Punisher, but I do not see him going for the, let's just not do this and just keep you knocked out. He's going to go for the kill. He will definitely take the Joker out. There has been comics where Frank actually does take the Joker out. I just need to remember it, and I will talk about that in another video. But Joker will be gone and will be dead. This will be the bloodiest ending that the entirety of Arkham has ever seen. Just putting the Punisher in any of these Arkham games would be bloody, just due to the fact that he's cleaning house on anybody that he can possibly get if he has any information on them. And even if he doesn't, if he spends enough time in Gotham and figures out what's going on, these villains are going to start dropping like flies. So, yeah. Could the Punisher survive Arkham Asylum? Yes, but there will be some major annoyances along the way. He wouldn't survive it. He would mainly cleanse it, if we're being honest. Every major villain, specifically in the game, would either be dead or too scared to crawl out of hiding for a little while. Just specifically due to, if we're talking about the games, yeah, he's dealing with whatever he needs to deal with. Arkham Asylum would be silent for the first time in a good little while, but the price obviously would be massive. The asylum would definitely be destroyed. Moral lines, throw them out the window. This is the Punisher we're talking about, not Batman. And this would just kind of change a lot of different things in terms of how the game would play out later on if the Punisher was in world. But this is only a scenario, so we can do whatever we feel like. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys did, make sure leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for more videos like this, and go down in the comment section and tell me other videos that you guys might want me to do, and just any videos in general. But yeah, make sure to see me in the next video. Peace.